We have previously in these transmissions discussed the idea of a general probability for a window for the beginning of open contact between your civilization and other civilizations more openly on your planet. This window in general has been said to be between your years of 2025 and 2033, give or take a year or two on either side. But the idea now is that things are beginning to crystallize a little bit more, and we can, at this point, in scanning the probabilities, pinpoint the year 2027 specifically as an acceleration toward the idea, the beginning of contact in a variety of ways, a little bit more than the idea of just delivering information to you. It will begin slowly. Still, we're not saying that in 2027 all the ships are going to land. That's not what we're saying. So please do not misinterpret this idea. There is still a window. It will begin very strongly in 2027, and here is the explanation of why. Many of you are already familiar in your history with the idea of a seminal event regarding UFO contact that happened in your year of 1947, what you call the Roswell incident, where you really first began to realize that you are not alone in the universe through the crash of a UFO in the desert near your Roswell and Corona in New Mexico. From that point forward began a cycle. Once you had become aware as a society that other beings other than yourself exist on other planets and have the capacity to reach your world with their technology, many different things began to change within your collective consciousness, within your psyche, your awareness. And that began a 40-year cycle. Now, the 40-year cycle has been prevalent in your society for many thousands of years. The idea is that 40 years is generally, in your reality, the time it takes for a complete transformation of a society into a completely new point of view. You see examples of the idea of people changing over 40-year cycles throughout much of your literature if you look for it. The idea, therefore, is that from 1947 to 1987 was the first 40-year cycle when you became aware of the idea of other life in the universe. And in 1987, many of you started to realize that there was another culmination cycle going on then, and you called it the Harmonic Convergence. And at that time, we began to bring through more information about what's going on out in the universe and how different kinds of societies relate to your world, specifically about the idea of the beings you call the Greys, and how we first began to explain the real legacy, the real history of what that society was all about, being that they were originally humans on a version of Earth in a parallel reality that did not necessarily take care of their world, that destroyed their version of Earth through their technological means and their lack of spiritual context, and mutated themselves eventually in order to survive into the beings you now know as the Greys. We told you this story and helped you understand that the reason that they came from their reality to yours and many other versions of Earth was to access viable human DNA, since they were no longer able to reproduce, and with that DNA and their technology, create a race of hybrid beings that would continue their culture so they would not die out. As we have explained many times, of course, we are one of those hybrid civilizations. And Earth, in a sense, in its evolution, is becoming another hybrid civilization. But the idea being, from that point forward in 1987, when you began to realize what the larger story was and how you're connected to it, and how the information that we share with you is not only for the purpose of continuing the Greys' original culture from the parallel Earth, but also to help your world not necessarily go down the same path of destruction, because you had many similar traits and still have many similar traits to what it is that brought about the destruction of their version of Earth and their reality. But by disseminating and absorbing this information into your society, you have the option they didn't have. You have the option to take a different path. You have the option to create a reality that you prefer. You have the option to create positive realities of peace. So the idea here then is we are now nearing the end of that next 40-year cycle in 9 of your years in 2027. And that's why 2027 is now the focal point when the next 40 years, the next phase of contact can begin. It will accelerate at that point in a variety of unexpected ways. There will be more sightings, there will be more synchronicity, there will be here and there on your planet individual and isolated contacts happening. Now, as we have explained, the hybrid races that exist will not necessarily be the first beings that you interact with. There are others that you will interact with that in many ways are actually a little bit more like you and a little bit closer in relation to your world, and therefore interaction with beings more like yourselves will alleviate some of the ideas of panic that some people on your planet may feel in interacting with alien species, allowing you the opportunity to get used to the idea that you can have neighbors from the stars. And as soon as that becomes something that you are far more familiar with, then other races that are a little less like you can begin to introduce themselves in a constructive and peaceful manner that does nothing to disrupt the society that you have chosen to create for yourselves. But it will begin in earnest. The next phase will begin in 2027 and accelerate from there all the way up, as we said, till about 2033. Between 2033 and 2040, as we read the energy as it exists now, if nothing changes, the highest probability is that between those years, 2033, 2040, you will experience complete open contact on your planet. And during that time, also, the children that were created from the extraction of the DNA, the hybrid children, will begin to arrive on Earth to live in certain enclaves, in certain secluded areas, safe areas on your planet, again, where they can live as a group, where they can acclimate to living in your society, and you can acclimate to their society, and you can begin to blend and harmonize and welcome into your reality, welcome them into your world, and begin to really develop a real strong relationship with those children, to begin to truly understand your place in the stars, your very honored place in the galactic family. And through those years, 2033 to 2040, you will develop much, much more understanding of all the interrelationships that have occurred and can occur between your world and other beings from the stars. From that point forward, again, as we read the energy now, up till about the year 2050, all of that acclimatization will take place so that somewhere around the year 2050, you can actually enter into membership, if you wish, with the idea of the Interstellar Alliance and truly begin in earnest your education of the galaxy and a true understanding and connection of creation and existence that will spread you to the stars to explore, to discover more of yourself, and allow you to truly, from that point forward, develop a true harmony and a true paradise on your planet. So 2027 will be the kickoff point for that, a very strong one, and you will see a lot of different things happening in that year. It will be a very exciting time. So we thank you for working with us in this way. It is absolutely our passion to be able to further contact with your civilization among the other civilizations that we have contacted. It gives us great joy to be able to know that it is possible to interact with your world in this way and invite you into the family so that you can begin your process of moving at whatever pace is comfortable for you from the idea of Homo sapien to Homo Galacticus. And taking into account what we discussed last night of your time, knowing that you are all time travelers in a sense, determining which parallel reality paths you are taking by following your joy, by acting on your passion to the best you can, dropping all the insistence on what you think is supposed to happen and letting reality show you, letting creation show you the gifts that it has for you and responding to them in a positive way will drive you forward and allow you to experience the great acceleration that we're talking about that will come to a head in 2027.
How will the realities who do not experience contact perceive this event? Will they look back on this instance in a similar way we look back on the Roswell event, very much in denial?
It depends on the person. There is still an opportunity in the upcoming events to have a particular perspective of it, or no perspective at all, not even knowing that it's happening. There is still the possibility of a range of reactions to it because you are still seeing other people's choices. So for a while, different people will respond or react in different ways or not even be aware that it's happening. These things will start slowly, in phases, subtly, and not everyone on your planet may even be aware that it's occurring. But the different reactions from those that become aware of it may also exhibit a wide range from acceptance to disbelief to total non-acceptance. So again, there is still time for people to make choices about how they relate to the idea of open contact, and you will see a number of different reactions and responses to any particular UFO events or contact events for a few years to come.
This person says, I was wondering if the first major contact event will happen in dream form. I feel like more people would be open to the idea of it since they are in a dream state. I'm aware that a lot of people are already making contact while dreaming and just don't remember it. But will we have a dream we remember which will unlock the door to making physical contact?
That is a high probability. It is common in first contact scenarios in many civilizations, including a high probability in yours, that the idea of widespread open contact will be experienced en masse in dreams before it occurs in physical reality.
Will open contact happen on a large scale, visible to everyone, ensuring that no one is left out?
No, because again, there are those who may choose not to experience it. It will happen for those who are willing and open to experience such a thing. So again, the scale of it will happen in phases, will unfold in phases. And those who are open to the vibration will experience certain aspects of it. And this will change over time and broaden over time. But there will be those who are simply unwilling to experience such things, and we have to respect that. Therefore, vibrationally, they will simply not be capable of participating in the experiences that others may be open to experiencing.
And what will be the impact on those with religious beliefs when we establish open contact? Will they resist, or will you assist them in gaining a deeper understanding of Jesus and God?
We will assist where we can, where people are willing and open to receive assistance. Again, there will be a range of responses and reactions based on people's beliefs, be they positive and or negative. And again, this range of responses and reactions will still exist for quite some time as you process what is going on, as you work through things and determine for yourselves which track you ultimately prefer to be on.
And how are you feeling regarding the current UAP issues with the US government? Will we make progress soon for disclosure and contact?
You are making progress. The term soon is relative. But again, progress will be made in a number of different ways, not even necessarily so much by your government, although there will come a time when they understand that there really is no other choice but to reveal what they know, at least to a large degree. Because the movements that exist in the public domain will have advanced farther at a certain point than the government's abilities to interact and expose the information that they are aware of. So it will happen as a multifaceted approach from different corners of different public interests and different public activities, and come together at a certain timing, again, through the window over the next decade or so.
And since it's the year one of Countdown to Contact, can you tell us more about the ET races that we could encounter, like Sasani, Pleiadian, Yael?
Again, it is most likely that those most similar to you, such as the Pleiadian civilizations, will be among the first that you will experience when open contact begins in earnest. Hybrid civilizations you will experience. Yael will likely be first because they will be the ones bringing the hybrid children to Earth eventually. My civilization, the Sasani, will not necessarily be first, but we will be in the mix further down the line, as well as other civilizations.
You've mentioned that a lot of ET races use similar ship types. We could, of course, reach out telepathically, but are there also physical differences in the ships we would notice, for example, between the triangular ships Pleiadian, Yael, Sasani use?
Well, again, yes, of course. You have witnessed many different types of ships that have many different kinds of functions, and different civilizations usually have types of ships that are relevant for them. A lot of civilizations will use the saucer-shaped ships. Many will use triangular-shaped ships. There is a kind of exchange that does exist between civilizations of some of the technologies. And so the use of different kinds of ships has become more mixed over time, with different civilizations acquiring the technologies of other civilizations. Many will use the cylindrical mothercraft or city ships, because that is a convenient form, although some will also be spherical. But again, you can't always necessarily tell what civilization now because of the mixing of technologies. Though for the most part, Pleiadians will retain the idea of the classic saucer shape as you understand it, and our civilization and many hybrids will retain the general use of triangular ships because that is what is representative of our general technology.
And regarding extraterrestrial writing that some people see on the ship's exterior, when seeing the ships up close, what is that writing for?
The writing exists as a mark for the identification of ships in terms of their function. And it is, in a sense, read as a code vibrationally that is telepathically received by those who are sensitive to it to understand the function of the ship and its nature in terms of how it is telepathically connected to those piloting the ships. It is a kind of a signature vibration that contains a lot of information that others can download, so to speak, to understand the identity of the ship, the function of the ship, the function of the crew, the mission they are on. The writing can even change from time to time.
This person says, I feel like I'm personally ready for that contact with ETs. Can you speak a little more on how we can embody, accelerate, and integrate for first contact?
Follow the formula as precisely as you can, as often as you can, to accelerate your vibration and make you more vibrationally compatible with the idea of contact.
Is it possible for, or probable for some of us to witness humanity becoming an honorary part of the Galactic Alliance? At 21 years old, I'm hopeful that the advancement in technology and healthcare might make it a reality within my lifetime.
Yes, as long as an individual doesn't choose to leave the planet during the time of open contact, those, especially of a younger age, are highly likely to experience the idea of open contact and a relatively large chunk of the full spectrum of contact over time.
For me, this first contact is not really a science event or a fruition of a science fiction dream. It is a cultural event, sociologic, like in the film Close Encounter of the Third Kind. Can you speak to this?
It is a sociological event, first and foremost, because it will alter your entire society. And you must alter your entire society on your own in order to make yourselves more compatible with the idea of contact. So the idea is it is less scientific, although there will be some technological elements to it, some technological exchange, knowledge exchange, so on and so forth, knowledge given, technological ideas given and shared. But it is first and foremost a sociological event, yes. Your entire society, those that are willing and open, those that are shifting in the direction of open contact, will be very different from your society of today. So the idea is that, yes, primarily it is sociological.
The idea of humans organizing for contact. In what shapes or form would you suggest or inspire humans to organize themselves so they can globally have a more joyful and exciting open contact experience?
Some of that type of information will be being delivered in upcoming transmissions that have to do with what we are preparing you for now. As we said, this is Countdown to Contact Year 1, and we will begin to make certain suggestions for actions and behavioral changes in members of your society that have to do with what we are terming the Interstellar Alliance Sociological Experiment. And it will be delivered to you in a variety of steps over time in the upcoming year. So some of those suggestions will be forthcoming in the upcoming transmissions.
You've recommended putting up a picture of an alien in our windows. I've had little children, and in speaking to them about contact, I'm not sure they're ready to see an alien in the window. Do you have other suggestions for the little ones?
Depending upon their age, your children are already exposed to many representations of ETs and other kinds of beings in their programming on television and in movies. You can simply be creative and imaginative and choose representations that you deem to be, shall we say, cuter than average, so that children can relate to them, and use those instead.
When contact is made, what reactions do you anticipate from us?
Again, there will be a range of responses and reactions depending upon belief systems, willingness to be open or not to the idea that you are not alone, willingness to be open to the idea of the kind of changes that would have to occur within you as individuals and within all of you as a society. So again, there will be a range of reactions and responses, and this is what we anticipate will occur at first.
And what qualities make us the best candidates for open contact?
Love, peace, creativity, imagination, and a willingness to be your true selves, a willingness to raise your vibration, a willingness to expand your consciousness, a willingness to connect to all that is in a variety of ways.
Okay, and did the ETs want to intervene when they saw how humans are destroying the planet, or is this that would not be the correct path? Or is that what's happening now?
That is what is happening now to a certain degree. It has been allowed in the past that certain cultures destroyed themselves. At this time, the passage of Earth in its evolutionary path is vital to the cosmos and will not be allowed to be destroyed again. And thus, it is now time for what you might call an intervention, but not in the way that you might think. Nevertheless, the preservation of humanity and the preservation of Earth at this time is of paramount importance to the universe in a variety of ways that again will be explained to you after open contact. You will understand them.
And in our neighborhood of ETs, are there other planets that are so biodiverse and amazing in terms of the biological aspects of the planet?
There are many planets that are extremely biodiverse, even more so than the Earth. But the idea is that your immediate neighbors are not necessarily so biodiverse.
So
This
this
is
is
for the purpose of allowing you to gain familiarity with them in a way that you recognize as being somewhat similar to your reality, so that, again, you have more comfortability in interacting with them. Later, you will be introduced to those that are far more biodiverse than you, far more alien than you.
and ultimately all of the extinction that's occurred on this planet with advanced beings or advanced technology, all of this can be retrieved, similar to the Greys coming to Earth and needing human DNA.
It can all be retrieved, or at least what is relevant can be retrieved for humanity's evolutionary path forward. Yes.
Great.
And again,
Oh.
remember that many different things will be introduced to you, where you don't have to necessarily retrieve them. They will simply be given to you.
Would you be able to provide insight into the factors that have influenced the likelihood of the Pleiadians being our first major contact in 2027 rather than the Yael or the hybrids?
Well, hybrids and Pleiadians will both be part of the initial open contact introduction. But the Pleiadians have been working with humans on Earth in a variety of ways behind the scenes for quite some time. Therefore, they will be one of the first to be introduced into your society because they have already been working with your society, with many members of your society, for a while.
You mentioned that open contact might begin with ships revealing themselves in a stationary way, perhaps offshore, to give us time to adjust to their presence. After that, the ETs would introduce themselves to us. Could you share how long after we start seeing the ships that actual contact might occur? And how will these meetings take place? Will they be face to face, or will the ETs use technology such as communicating through our computers, TV broadcasts, or some form of AI projection?
The preponderance of sightings of our ships will increase in your year of 2026 and 2027. It will be about a year to 18 months between the increase of the sightings of ships and the introduction of extraterrestrials to your society more openly. This will be done through a type of what you would call a press conference, and they will be introduced physically to you, not through your electronic devices.
So would actual contact that we're being told about in 2027, would that just be the presence of the ships, or would that mean that that's just the beginning?
That is the continuation of the acceleration of the sightings to let you know that we are here, and in 2027, you will actually be physically introduced to the occupants of the ships.
What will be the first technologies that'll be introduced to humanity after open contact, and how soon might we start using them?
Over the course of about 5 years after the introduction of extraterrestrials openly to your society, there will be the introduction of things that have been being worked on between some of your scientists and extraterrestrials for quite some time. Certain kinds of holographic displays, free energy devices, the idea of medical advancements, genetic advancements, so to speak, in that sense, and many other technologies being introduced that have been being worked on for quite some time.
Can you tell us anything about how Western medicine will change after the first contact?
Well, again, there will be an increase in the understanding of genetic structure and alteration of genetics. And there will also be an introduction more readily of the idea of what you would call vibratory medicine, the idea of frequencies of energies having effects upon the human body.
Okay, and will contact with aliens happen primarily on a higher consciousness level, or will we be able to see them and interact with them in the physical 3D realm like we do with other humans?
Physically. Of course, interaction with them physically over time will allow you also the opportunity to become more aware of the connections that exist on higher frequency levels.
And this individual is saying they're currently studying to become a counselor. I've been thinking that when open contact occurs in 2027, Many people might need support to process the experience and everything that goes with it. Is that accurate, or does being on the timeline where contact occurs mean that people will already be mentally and psychologically prepared for these extraordinary events?
No, they will need support. They will need assistance, many of them. Not all of them, but many of them. Some people will be better prepared and some people will be less well prepared. And so they may require some support.
And in a recent Q&A, Bashar said, or you said, that the question that hasn't been asked yet is why now for open contact? I would love to know more about that.
Well, again, it has to do with the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another, as even has been foretold and predicted by many indigenous cultures. The recognition that there have been many cycles on the earth, many shifts of reality on the earth that take you from one age to another age. And this is that time again. So it is the recognition of going through the process of transforming from an old age to a newer age, from shifting to one reality to another.
And as we get closer to 2027, this person's saying they feel very excited about open contact. How do they keep their energy in a grounded state while they're so intensely interested in extraterrestrials and the experience of open contact? How can they best prepare?
Remember again, follow the formula: in service to others, in service to humanity. That will keep you grounded.
Their question is about 2027 contact event. Many years ago, they knew about this prediction, and they wanted to know how this is possible that they were told this in the past, and how they received it, and how this technically works with the experience of channeling.
This has been laid out on many people's life path to be at this time incarnated during this event, to usher in the new age and usher in the connection with extraterrestrial beings that will help humanity evolve. So the idea is that being laid out on your life path from the soul's perspective, sometimes there will be certain moments when your consciousness may connect to the awareness of what you laid out on that life path, and therefore receive information that would then unfold in what you call the future, linearly speaking.
What will happen to the Vatican post-disclosure 2027? Will the secret texts in the library be revealed?
Yes. All will be revealed in the years following open contact.
Now, is that after 2027, or is that after we actually, the year that follows, where we're having more of a level of contact than simply
Well, that still all happens after 2027,
2027?
whether it takes a year or 5 years or 10. It's
I see.
all within the time frame of the acceleration of full disclosure after the introduction of extraterrestrials. So many things that have been hidden will be revealed, either very, very soon after open contact or within the years that follow.
So does Pope Leo have an ET connection, and will he be integral with disclosure?
Yes,
Why have all the enlightened beings in history been male?
they're
Have
not.
the, have the females just been erased because of the male domination agenda?
Yes, but they have existed.
Are
And
there
it
any?
will again be revealed when your history is shown to you by the extraterrestrial.
Okay, do you want to mention any of the enlightened females?
You will not recognize it until it is shown to you.
You've mentioned that Jesus never really meant to start a whole religion, that he was just trying to show us how to awaken the Christ within, that we can be like him. I am thinking that open contact will expose many truths about religions. How will people adapt to this, finding out that Christianity is not completely understood as it was initially transmitted? And what will happen
Religion on
to
your planet, religion on your planet in its present form will no longer exist by the year 2050. It will be more the understanding of direct spiritual contact.
Okay.
If you wish, in retrospect, since you are now talking about it from this perspective, one of the enlightened females is the being that you call the Magdalene, who should have been the continuation of Jesus's teachings, but was not because of male domination.
Where does the male domination issue emanate from? Was it something having to do with how we were originally created?
No.
Is there any more that you can help us understand why this is our challenge to balance?
For now, I will just say it comes from forgetfulness and fear, from a feeling of disconnection and disempowerment, from a depth of that experience and the attempt to control, to regain connection, even though that is not the way it works. The male seeks to dominate outwardly. The female seeks to understand control inwardly. In the cycle of the earth that is now ending, the understanding that trying to control the outer reality is an illusion. It is going within where control is understood, where control is found, where connection is found. And this is why the rise of the feminine energy is now so important and critical in your society. But in the forgetfulness of past ages, those that sought to regain connection could only imagine the idea of it happening from attempting to control the outer environment, to dominate. So the amplification and magnification of the male side of the energy became accelerated until such time as you have arrived at a point where you are beginning to learn that it is an illusion to try and control the outer reality, since the outer reality is itself a projection or an illusion. And you must go within to regain your sense of connection. And that is why the feminine energy is now rising and must form a balance, so that there is a balance of your relationship between the inner and the outer.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
I'm here in Encinitas, California, and I have a question. I love everything that you just shared. I feel like the gas pedal has been pushed down pretty accelerated for me lately, and I give a lot of reverence and appreciation to you for the formula. It's been the most influential teaching thus far that has really accelerated my life in such a beautiful way. So I just want to honor you and appreciate all of the beautiful experiences that I feel like you've contributed to my life. So I thank you so much.
All right. Well, we thank you and our deep appreciation for being willing to apply the information to your life.
Yes. And so I mentioned I'm from Encinitas because people have said there's a vortex here. And I'm just curious if you have any feedback or thoughts on that.
There are many vortices everywhere, both great and small, major, minor vortices. There are vortices over the entire structure of your planet because that's how it works energetically. These act as nodal points for the transmission of or the flow of different kinds of energy that take on different qualities depending upon the area. And people gravitate to these areas in particular because of the kind of frequency that exists within those particular nodal points that aid and assist them specifically in their own journeys in life. In the area that you are mentioning, there is a kind of a quickening energy there. Things can go much more rapidly in that area in general than they may in other areas when people need to have a slower experience. They will usually not go to the area that you have named, where if they desire a much more fluid or quicker, more accelerated experience or alignment with themselves, they will usually gravitate to areas such as you have named, of which there are many around the world, but what you have named is one.
Yeah, that's what, and also just the monologue about the gas pedal and the valve. I'd love to talk a little bit more about that because the formula, there's been such amazing synchronicity, but the quickening, the acceleration, The valve feels like it's open more than it ever has been. And I'm having some pretty slippery experiences in my consciousness. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm drawn to this area. And one of which, my highest excitement has been with my coaching clients to go on these trips. And it's been pretty consistent. This just started happening where I've been consistently experiencing simultaneous realities for myself and one other person, but now I've been able to create that experience in small groups of coaching groups.
All right,
And
congratulations.
I'm curious. Go ahead.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So I'm curious about the mechanics of that, because one aspect I feel it's like the spontaneity where the energy is just fitting, and I know I know when I'm in that flow, I know what I need to know in the moment. I'll say what I need to say to specific people in specific ways that tend to help, I guess, match energy, if you will. That's what it feels like. But I'm
Yes.
experiencing some pretty interesting things. Not only being able to create scenarios where they're able to experience simultaneous realities undeniably within the group, so the whole group is experiencing it, but also
Yes.
time shifts. So we had an experience in Baja where we went through what we perceived as a time change of 2 hours when there really wasn't one. So I
Yes.
want to hear a little bit more about the mechanics of that.
All right. Well, again, do remember that time is a side effect of your consciousness shifting through parallel realities, as we have said. Therefore, when you expand your consciousness and become more aware of more of who you are that already exists on some level in other realities, then those barriers drop, they fade, because they're artificially imposed to begin with anyway. It's just a matter of being on a frequency that by definition includes more awareness of more of the realities that you're already connected to, because every single reality is here and now. Since time and space are illusions, it's all accessible from here, from now, from the moment, from the present. Therefore, the more you expand, the more aware you become of the more that's in the now. Does that make sense?
It does. It feels the presence when I'm extremely present. Not only am I aware of more realities and more awareness of everything,
Yes.
I'm aware of how I'm creating my past and my now, et cetera, et cetera. My past changes quite often.
Yes, because they're all here. You don't go anywhere. The mechanics of it is that because everything exists here and now, all at once, all you have to do is change your frequency to one that is more representative of an expanded awareness, to be aware of more of what's already here. You're not going anywhere. You're not, shall we say, literally diving into or projecting into or penetrating into another reality that's somewhere else. Yes, it's usually separated by differences in frequencies, but those frequencies all exist within your consciousness. So when you start dissolving the differences, in a sense, to some degree between one reality idea and another reality idea, you can start experiencing more than one reality idea simultaneously when your consciousness is capable of handling that.
I love that you said that, because it does feel like a dissolving. It actually literally almost, it's my senses feel that it is a dissolving of somewhat I don't know if it's barriers or if it's just illusions, but
it's the same thing.
feels,
That's the same thing. Barriers are illusions. That's what we're saying. There is only
Right.
one thing in existence, and therefore anything that you consider to be a different thing is an illusion and is created by the artificial barriers, which is differences in frequencies that are created within your consciousness in order to have a certain experience where you feel that it is necessary to experience differences within the one homogeneous thing. So barriers are illusions.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you. And so more about the fun of it's just been such a fluid, extremely it's just been amazing. It's such a fun, exhilarating experience. And my question to you is the spontaneity. So it feels like I'm fitting the energy, but it's kind of part of me, what level I'm creating it from. I understand that the higher mind is the mirror that's reflecting, but the physical mind is sometimes, a little bit tricky in that I can feel the physical mind wanting to label or explain. And so that's becoming less and less.
All right, well, that's
also
fine. Again, the idea is you get to determine what labels need to remain for your own purposes and what labels you can let go of. It's up to you to determine how it works for you. So there's no right or wrong way in that particular process. Go with your flow and see what works. Keep whatever labels work and let go of whatever labels you no longer need.
Thank you, Bashar. So the last part of this segment I wanted to discuss is the whale. So my highest excitement has always been my connection and my excitement with dolphins and whales, and recently with the gray whales and the humpbacks specifically. And then out of that, we came across a hybrid of a fin and a blue whale in Laredo. And that was quite interesting because he made himself very visible to us, over 80 sightings in a very short amount of time. I wanted to see if you had anything to say about that.
The hybrids are coming closer.
Yeah.
You will see more examples. You will see more examples in your reality of things that are hybridized to indicate the changes going on. They will start more deeply within your collective consciousness, or perhaps your collective unconsciousness, thus representative of the whale, which represents a larger consciousness, showing you more clearly that more hybridization is happening in the non-physical realm, which then translates into the deeper collective unconscious of your people before it also starts trickling down, as you say, into the collective subconscious and the collective consciousness of your people, to start recognizing that hybridization is part and parcel of the evolution of humanity on the earth.
I love how you just tied that into the unconscious and subconscious. And then we did have an experience recently with an entity in the physical. I've asked before because I've had an experience as well, and it feels potentially like a Yael. I wanted to get maybe your validation, not that I need it, but it's always fun to hear.
I cannot give you validation of that at this time.
Okay, Bashar, I love you so much. Thank you. I appreciate
Our unconditional love to you as well. Good day.
Good day.
Hello, Bashar. So I've been wondering about, I know how we switch Earths billions of times per second, right? I was wondering how this affects us in our sleep. Does sleep affect the Earth that we wake up in? Do we wake up in the same Earth that we went to sleep in? Does what we do in our sleep, our consciousness, the dreams that we have affect which Earth we wake up in any way? That's it. Thank you.
Yes, you never wake up in the same reality. Since you're shifting billions of times a second, even while you're awake, you're never in the same reality. And sleep allows you to do several different things, because when you're out of body, you can go to the template level of the physical reality and make different kinds of choices and changes within relevance to the theme you chose to explore. And you can do things in a slightly different way. But you are never in the same reality. But yes, sleep can affect the reality you wake up in. Not that you are not always in a new reality, but it can be a slightly different reality than you might otherwise have woken up in had you remained awake.
Hello, Bashar. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Of course, always.
This is my first time meeting you, so I'm very excited.
All right. So are we.
So one of the questions I have is, children, when they're young, often tend to see beings when it's nighttime and they are supposed to go to bed and sleep, and the lights are out, and
yes.
You know, is there an ability that children have to see things that are like in a different dimension or reality or something?
Yes, because they haven't unlearned that yet, because they're not fully focused yet on the idea of physical reality as the only thing that they should pay attention to. Children are still newly from spirit and still retain the ability to see into other dimensions. It's natural for most children. So the idea is that many children on your planet will learn to stop doing that, although now in this day and age, they don't have to really learn that. They don't have to focus quite so strongly on the idea that there is only physical reality. They can still experience the themes they chose to explore as physical beings without necessarily losing the ability to perceive beings from other dimensions. So this is something that is new for your society in general on a large scale. People on your planet have always had this ability from time to time, but it used to be rare. Now it's becoming more common. But yes, in general, children on your planet are still closer to spirit than they are to physical reality, and for quite some time may still retain the ability to see into other dimensions until, for some reason, if there is a reason for them to focus only on their physical theme, then they may close that facility down for a while. And then it may return later in life when they are through exploring certain things. But yes, it's a natural ability that most children have.
And is there a way to facilitate the coming back of this ability?
Yes, to follow the formula that we have shared with all of you.
Okay. Okay.
Now, there are also many other techniques. Basically, you can attract through synchronicity whatever technique may work for you. Whatever permission slip will be best aligned for your vibration. But in general, those things will also arrive in your life if you do, in fact, follow the formula. It happens automatically.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
At some point, I was laying in my bed and seeing a dark pattern on the ceiling, and I was a kid back then, and I was kind of fearing for my life because I didn't know what it was, but I was like almost paralyzed, and then I said no, not now, and please leave, but I didn't know what it was, and this happened twice to me when I was a kid, but I still have no idea what it meant or what
It's a portal to another reality and a beginning of a visitation of extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial beings coming in to interact with you according to the agreements that you have made in this life to be part of those kinds of encounters and experiences. So what you were initially experiencing was the opening of a portal from one dimension to another.
Okay. And is there something I can do to maybe get back to that point? So now that I know I don't have to be afraid about it.
Don't be afraid. And again, follow the formula. Be more open to investigating and researching the encounters that exist between extra-dimensional and human people on your planet. Educate yourself to know that you're part of a bigger program, a bigger agenda for the evolution of the Earth, for the evolution of humanity. Invite it in and feel love for the experience. Most importantly, allow yourself to fill yourself with love and create the invitation on your own terms, saying that it can be what works for you and what works for others, but always in a state of unconditional love and service.
Okay, I'll try that.
All right.
Okay, when I was in school, I had dreams. That was like the first years of school, so I did not lose the stuff apparently until then. So when I was in school, I had dreams at night where I saw things that would happen a day or two later.
Yes.
And I actually made a game out of this because when I went into like a conversation with people and I knew what they would say, I just changed my reply and see what would happen. And this was funny for me.
Yes. Well, again, everything exists now. All realities exist now. What you call past, present, and future are all here. And there are multiple versions of everything. So if you have expanded your consciousness, again, especially when you are younger, and made a game out of it, which is a positive thing to do, then it can help practice and train you to be able to perceive more realities that exist in the here and now moment. And thus you can perhaps perceive more clearly the probabilities of which reality will manifest or crystallize in your particular physical world experience. So that's not unusual. It's just that you're becoming more aware that every reality, every probable reality that is most likely to manifest is already known to you, is already here and already exists. It's just a matter of which way you choose to go and how strongly you choose to crystallize the realities that you're perceiving.
Okay. And I guess...
Did that make sense to you? Do you understand what we're saying?
Yes.
All right.
I guess getting back to that is also following the formula.
Everything is contained in following the formula as precisely as possible. It leaves absolutely nothing important or relevant out of your life. It will bring you what you need exactly when you need it.
Okay. All right. I was in October 2011. I was in a group that did C5 protocols for contacting extraterrestrials,
Yes.
and we had some contact with. We saw ships flying around, and we had high strangeness events or things that happened that were strange.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. And when we did a meditation for contacting extraterrestrials, it was like a vision in my head that I had from it was a woman, and she looked more like a cat being, a feline woman. And she looked at me, and it was like just a second or so, and she said, "Be patient." And that's all I got from this. And then I started to think and woke up from the meditation.
All right. Well, that's good. That's a good first start. Coming through the extra-dimensional consciousness is coming through an archetypal form, an ancient Egyptian form that connects to something that will work for you. The ancient Egyptian archetypal form, looking feline, is called Bastet or Bast, the ancient Egyptian goddess. So this is an archetypal form that the extra-dimensional being was using that has relevance for the vibration of your own being. And initiating a contact and telling you to not be impatient, basically, is a good first step. Things will unfold as they need to.
Okay.
You can do the meditation again anytime you wish. You can begin practicing, strengthening that contact.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Is there a specific, I guess it would be
whatever works for you, or replicate what you did before.
Okay. Okay, so when sometimes I hear stories about people getting abducted.
Yes.
And what I was wondering is, when they talk about it, the first contact or initial contact is a bit scary for them.
Yes, because they don't understand what's going on, because they haven't been told that these kinds of things are happening by an agreement you made before this life. This is part of the evolutionary path of humanity on the earth. And because most people aren't in touch with those agreements, then they will go into fear mode or survival mode, because what is being experienced is very foreign to them. And to the physical consciousness almost seems life-threatening, because it's so different, so alien to your normal physical reality on earth. There is nothing to be afraid of, but nevertheless, the physical mind may still react that way by going into survival mode, because interacting with another dimension changes your frequency, and to the physical mind that almost feels like a death. Even though it is a type of death, it is not literally physical death. But the physical mind may interpret it as such and kind of go into a little bit of a panic.
Okay.
But you can get used to it, and this is what we talked about earlier. Open up in the idea of love. Express the idea, as you have already done, that you want it to be on your own terms in a comfortable way, and that you are willing to participate and be more aware of what's going on if more awareness is allowed on their part. So approach it that way, and things can smooth out. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Then I will wish you pleasant dreams.
Thank you.
Good day.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm very excited to be here.
We are excited to speak with you as well. What would you like to discuss?
For the last 4 years, I've been heartbroken over this guy, and
Heartbroken over this guy.
over a guy, yes.
Yes.
And
Heartbroken about what?
well, he doesn't want to be with me, but sometimes
Then why
he
would
does.
you want to be with him? Why would you want to attract somebody in your life that doesn't wish to be with you? What
well,
are you
every
doing
time
to yourself?
I stop thinking about him, then he comes into my life again.
To test you, to see if you're willing to give up your power to something that isn't what you prefer? And yet you keep swallowing the bait?
Yep.
Why are you doing that to yourself? How about being heartbroken over what you're doing to yourself?
I think I am.
I know you are.
But I just
what?
get really emotional about it.
Of course you do, because you are feeling the result of what you believe to be true about yourself. But you can't wallow in the feeling. You have to get in touch with what you believe to be true about yourself to understand what it is you're doing, what it is you keep choosing to do.
Okay, well, I mean, I think probably I believe that I'm not lovable or something like that. But even if I know that, I'm not sure how to change that idea.
Well, let's examine it more specifically. You may be aware of the fact that you believe you're not lovable, but you haven't gotten down to the root of why that seems logical for you to believe. Why does that seem believable? That's another belief system. Why does it seem believable that you're not lovable?
Because
Yes.
the people that I love don't love me.
The people that you love don't love you. But again, all you're doing is repeating the pattern in that statement of attracting reflections of what you already feel to be true about yourself, which means you don't love yourself. So what else could you possibly attract if that's how you feel about yourself, other than people who will reflect to you your inability to love yourself, which is what they're doing.
And
You can't be surprised by that if you don't love yourself. That's what you would get.
I'm not surprised by it. I'm just not sure how to change it.
I am telling you how, but you're not really paying attention to the idea.
Okay.
Understand that if you know you don't love yourself, I'm asking you another question. Why would you buy into that as being true, that you don't love yourself, or that you can't love yourself, or you're not worthy of loving yourself? Why would that seem logical to believe in?
Because of a feeling, I guess.
Nope. Because
Sometimes
of a
I love
belief.
myself. Sometimes I
Sometimes,
do.
like when? Give me an example.
When I rock climb and I feel
When
like
you
I
rock
get
climb.
into the gamma state.
All right, and in that state, you can feel that you love yourself.
Yes.
So let me ask you a very important question.
Okay.
What's the difference that you're making in your definitions between loving yourself when you rock climb and other circumstances in your life? What difference are you making there in the idea of who you are in different situations?
I feel powerful and I feel like I can trust myself and
why can't you bring that to other circumstances in your life? What beliefs do you have that say, I cannot feel this and know this same thing to be true in this situation, even though I feel it in this situation? What difference are you defining there to be between the two situations?
I feel, okay, so...
Stop saying you feel. I know you feel.
Okay.
But what are you defining to
I
be
have a
true?
definition that to
Yes.
be lovable,
Yes.
you have to prove yourself materially.
What does that mean?
Make a lot of money, just
Why do you believe that to be true?
because
Do you believe that to be true?
no,
Not really.
but the people that I love believe it to be true.
So what? You're not them. They're not you. They're not living your life. Why do you have to believe as they do?
It just seems true.
Why do you have to believe as they do in order to respect yourself? In order to love yourself, why do you have to believe as they do? Do you understand that if they are imposing that kind of a belief system on you, that they may think they love you, but it's not love that they're expressing, it's control? Do you understand that by accepting what they are imposing on you as a belief system, that is not love? Therefore, you think that by going along with their beliefs, you are being loved, but you're not. You're just being controlled. That's not love. So you're under the misguided misassumption that buying into their beliefs means that they're loving you. No, they're not.
Well,
what?
Just this one person, because
I don't care how many people it is.
Well, it's just this one person that I want to love me.
Why? Why do you care?
Because I like how I feel when I'm with him.
So what you're saying is, even though there might actually be someone out there who would actually love you even more perfectly, and really love you, you're going to hold on to someone who doesn't really love you in the way that you prefer to be loved just because it's about, 82% of it? That's enough? You're going to settle for that and block the passage block the arrival of someone out there who might actually be able to love you 100% for who you are? Is that what you're actually willing to do to yourself? Just because you think you can't attract someone else any better than this? Is that what you're saying? Nod your head.
I don't think I can attract someone better unless I'm better, and I feel like I
exactly.
have to make more...
Exactly. And when you allow yourself to recognize that someone who exhibits 82% of the traits that you prefer isn't the person that you prefer, you will then allow him to get out of the way and allow the other person to come in. You're the one blocking love from your life. That could be there because you're not willing to be strong enough to know that you deserve better than just some of it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Some of it is not what you prefer, yet you're holding on to it because you don't believe anything else can come in. And the reason it doesn't come in is because you're blocking the way with someone who is only partially what you prefer. You're the one jamming the lanes. Let him flow off. Let him flow by, because whoever does show up, you won't care who it is, because they will feel correct. Let me ask you a question this way. Have you ever had any other relationships before this one?
Yes.
Well, how did this one come about if you didn't let the other ones go?
Okay, right.
Thank you. Obvious, isn't it? So what's so different about this? All you've done is attract to yourself something to test yourself to see if you're willing to put up with something that is a half measure, as opposed to standing firm in what you know to be true for you, that you prefer, and letting your life flow that to you. You're actually willing to shortchange yourself. Why? If it happened before that you let someone else go their way because something more came in, what's so difficult about doing it again if you understand that something else can come in if you don't block it from doing so? Just like it did before.
I feel like I'm getting too old.
Oh, how old are you?
I'm 30.
I beg your pardon? 30?
Yes, but on this planet, that's
Oh,
kind
no,
of
no,
old.
no, no, no. No. Excuses that are not real. You have a saying on your planet that is very wise. Yes? Fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. Yes? False evidence appearing real. The fact that you're 30, the fact that you're on Earth, the fact that a lot of people say, well, that biological clock is ticking, you'd best marry soon or you're going to be a dried up prune, is absolute nonsense. Now, yes, we understand there's a collective consensus reality There are certain things that you've agreed to with the collective consensus that you all abide by that are general, very general truths for a lot of you. That doesn't mean that every single aspect of that has to apply to you individually. And if you simply allow yourself to really fully be yourself, then whatever it is actually needs to be in your life, that is relevant to be in your life, will be in your life, because it cannot be not in your life. When we talk about, again, excitement being a complete kit, that's what we mean. Everything that's relevant will happen. There is only one exception to this. You've made all your agreements, you've made all your appointments. If you don't worry about them, you'll keep them. The things that need to happen will happen in perfect timing by the agreements you've already made in this life and before this life, about this life. The only way to miss your agreements is to spend your time and energy worrying. You will miss the agreements. That's how you miss the timing. By spending time and energy worrying, you'll miss your timing. That's the only way to miss your timing. If you don't worry about missing your timing, you cannot miss your timing.
Okay, I understand that.
Maybe you do, and maybe you don't.
I've heard you say that before.
Yes.
Question.
Yes.
Aren't there multiple or infinite realities? So
yes.
the agreements and the appointments and whatever, aren't they different across all the different
Some are
realities?
very slightly different, and some are massively different, but you still get to choose which one you prefer. That's how you fit into the niche and the path that is you, by being your full self and knowing that whatever has to unfold that is relevant for you as a unique consciousness and a unique perspective will be exactly what you need to get a reflection of the fulfillment that you create in your state of being.
So the other versions of me, then they're not really me, right?
No, they're not. They're other people entirely.
Okay. I wondered about that.
Noel, does that answer that question?
I'm going to ask a question that's kind of related. I've been working. I feel very bad because I work for my father, and I feel like, I didn't get like a independent job, and he's been supporting me to create a website. It's a social media site. I've been working.
Yes. Does that excite you?
It does really excite me, but there's something about it that is just been driving me crazy. So.
Such as? How exciting? What drives you crazy?
Fear.
Fear about what?
I just feel guilty about succeeding.
Fear about what? You feel guilty about what?
About the possibility of succeeding.
What is success? Being yourself. If at first you don't succeed, redefine success to be that definition that works for you. No one else will have the same definition of success.
Or I guess I'm scared of failing. It's one or the other.
What is failure? Not being yourself. That's it.
Do you really have to be yourself 100% of the time before you're successful at being yourself?
No. No, you do not. But here's the paradoxical irony. When you're okay with not being your true self 100% of the time, you are being your true self 100% of the time. Because you know you're going through a process, and it's okay to go through the process, and it's okay to know you're not always at your best, and that's okay. It's when you start heaping judgment and guilt upon yourself that you're going in the other direction. It's not because you're not always doing exactly the thing you would like to do. It's because of your attitude toward that experience that determines whether you're successful or not. So if you're all right with sometimes going, oh, well, I took a left turn here. It's not what I intended, but all right, I learned something from it. I'm not always 100% at my best, but that's okay because I know that it is my intention to be. And therefore, by acknowledging that it's okay to have gone down that path, even if it wasn't what I preferred, I know that overall I'm okay and have a self-correcting, self-guiding system that will always course correct and bring me back to where I prefer to be. That is success. Not because you achieve a goal. Not because something comes to fruition in the way you thought it would. Success is being okay with yourself at every moment, even when you're not okay with yourself. That's okay. If you heap judgment and guilt upon yourself, that's what stops you from being a success. Because many, many people in your reality who you would look at and go, oh, that's a very, very successful person, that's their secret, is they don't give up. They don't get down on themselves for suddenly maybe being out of alignment with who they prefer to be. They learn from it. They get back into alignment. They say, okay, lesson learned. Let's move on. That's success, because the process of your entire life, the process is the point. The journey is the destination. You're not trying to get anywhere. All you're doing is attempting to be more of yourself to the best of your ability. And if you're doing your best, that's all you need to do, and that's a success. Does this help?
Yes, it does.
Do you feel a little bit more relaxed about yourself?
I do.
Then that is the measure of success. All right?
Thank you, Bashar.
You are welcome.
The first one is, you talk about how similar to when we wake up from a dream while we're asleep in physical reality, it is that when we die, we wake up from the physical back into who we are as a soul. From your perspective, does this process continue beyond that once we are awake as a soul, or are we totally awake? Do we wake up at some point from being a soul back to being an oversoul, or from an oversoul, and so on? How does it all work?
When you are a soul, you are totally awake as a soul. You can connect to the oversoul. You can start to experience points of view from the oversoul. The idea is not so much that you wake up as the oversoul, for both will exist simultaneously in the realm of spirit, in the realm of non-physical reality. But you can have experiences as if you are seeing from the oversoul perspective. You can have experiences as if you are seeing from higher perspectives, oversouls of oversouls, and even from the perspective of all that is. But it's not the same as waking up, because you haven't forgotten who you are. Exactly in the sense of the connection between soul, oversoul, oversouls of oversouls, and all that is. On that level, things start to exist more concretely in a simultaneous way, and you can have experiences of having the point of view and perspective of those other levels, but it's not the same as waking up to realize you are that.
Okay, and what happens to the soul when we physically die?
What do you mean? You become the soul. You are the soul. You wake up as the soul. Your body idea, your experience of physical reality remains within you as the soul. Remember, your body doesn't have a soul. Your soul has a body. So to ask what happens to the soul when we die is a question coming from the linear physical perspective, as if your body is, in a sense, more real than the soul. You are a soul, and when you die, in a sense, you absorb the experience you had within the soul of the physical being that you created within the soul. Again, similar to the idea of as you grow as an adult, you absorb the experience you had as a child. But you are now an adult. Yet you can call upon the experiences you've had as a child. So as a soul, you can call upon the experiences you had from the physical perspective, but all that happened within the soul.
Okay, and if we are all living past and future lives in the present moment, then why is it that when babies are born, they need to relearn how to be human? They need to relearn the simplest things like how to talk, count, and interact with people. it is like they are discovering the world for the first time, but it's not the first time because we have many lives before and after.
But it is the first time for that personality. Your sentence is mixing the idea of the physical persona and the soul's experience when you say we. So the idea is you are creating a new physical persona that is injecting itself into the experience of physical reality and choosing to forget who it is so it can rediscover who it is from a new point of view. So it is the first time for that personality, and there has to be that first time experience for that personality to absorb all of the belief systems that are representative of the challenges that the soul chose to face as that unique new personality from a linear perspective. So that's why you have to forget who you are as a soul, even though you may be able to access all sorts of incarnational experiences that coexist simultaneously from the soul perspective. From the physical perspective, this is you uniquely for the first time. And therefore you have to learn things in the way that it is relevant for that personality to learn how to talk and walk and reconnect to things in a way, or connect to things in a way for the first time, to satisfy what that physical personality's journey is all about, which is going to be completely different from any other personality's journey. So it has to build up from scratch.
And how can a person tell if it's their last lifetime on Earth?
You will make that decision when you are in spirit. You cannot necessarily know that decision now. You may feel that there is a good chance you might choose that when you are back in spirit, back as the soul. And therefore, as the soul, you may say, yes, that was it. And now I'm going to move on. But you will have discussions with your spirit guides and all sorts of other beings when you are in spirit. And really, you will not completely form that decision until you are in spirit. You don't know right now, from the physical perspective, what else the soul itself may choose to experience. So you have many choices, and yes, you don't have to reincarnate, so to speak, on Earth. You can choose other kinds of experiences. But again, you will make that decision when you are in spirit.
And does each oversoul have a higher mind similar to our individual higher mind? And is the higher mind of all oversouls God?
In a sense, yes. The higher mind of anything and everything is what you call God. Although, again, it's infinite and eternal. There is no end. And even the idea of all that is can have a higher mind of a multitude of all that is.
And is our soul our higher mind?
Yes, same thing. The soul is the higher mind because that is the portion that is still experiencing itself as spirit, as a soul. So that becomes the higher mind, the guide for the physical personality the soul has created within the center of its being.
And do animals have higher minds?
Yes, because animals have souls, and the soul is the higher mind.
How is an animal soul different from a human soul?
It's different in purpose, it's different in vibrational frequency, it's different in intention, it's different in focus. The energy is the same, the essence is the same, but the vibrational patterns that determine what it is are different. It's like saying electromagnetic energy, light, is light. Whether it's visible light, invisible light, red, green, yellow, blue, whatever. It's all made of the same stuff, so to speak. But the different frequencies determine that it appears and presents itself as different in terms of its effect. So animal souls, human souls, all souls are in a sense made of the same stuff, the same energy, the same consciousness, the same extension of source, and all that is. But the frequencies that determine it is an animal as opposed to a human are different. It's a different color, so to speak.
Can animals become humans or vice versa after they die? and return to the physical world?
There is a type of progression where, from your perspective, it can appear that an animal consciousness has evolved into expressing itself as something like a human consciousness. It is unlikely that human consciousness become animal consciousness in an incarnational sense. Human consciousness can perceive itself and experience itself as an animal consciousness, but not necessarily physiologically. It is something that happens on the spirit level, in the spirit realm, in a certain way that you can experience while you're physical, but it's not like you're actually incarnating as an animal physically.
And are there an infinite number of souls to match one for each parallel human individual?
Yes.
And if we create vibrational representations of other souls' energy, but are not actually interacting with those energies directly in the material world, how is it possible that we can interact with anyone but ourselves?
Because you're picking up on the vibrational frequency of another, and you are using that frequency in part to create or co-create the version that you're interacting with, made out of your energy. So when you make a simulation of another being, part of that simulation contains the frequency differences in that other being, so that they do in fact appear different to you. The fact that you can perceive them as a different person is the clue that you are utilizing some of their frequency to create that representation, even though you're creating it out of your own consciousness and out of your own energy in order to have something to interact with. So the differences, the fact that you see it as a different person, is representative that you are incorporating into that simulation some of their frequency to represent themselves that way.
Is it possible to fully experience ourselves as our higher selves?
Yes, when you die. But you can have a version of yourself by getting very close to the idea, in the same way we have expressed that we are quasi-physical. On the chart that we have given you for this particular transmission, you will see the idea on the right-hand side of the fourth density human, where the physical mind has expanded back closer to being the level of the soul. And then you see above that the version that represents non-physical reality experience as an astral form or a near-death experience form. We are in the middle between those two, where we are very close to the idea of being the astral form, the spirit form, but we still retain physical attributes. That's why we are quasi-physical. So we represent as best as possible the idea of our higher minds, the soul, in physical terms by being quasi-physical, by having attributes of both the soul level and the physical level in a balanced and blended way. That's how you do it. It's not exactly the identical experience of being the soul, but it is a very close representation while still experiencing yourself to some degree as physical.
And can soul fragments from the same higher self or oversoul be family members? For example, can cousins be soul fragments from the same higher self?
There's no such thing as soul fragments. There are souls. If you're calling a fragment one of the souls that is connected to an oversoul, well, all right, then we understand your terminology. But there are no soul fragments. Souls are whole beings.
Okay, and is it true that twins have the same oversoul?
They can. They don't have to, but they can. It may be very likely, but it doesn't have to be absolute.
In the case of identical versus fraternal, is there any difference regarding oversoul connection?
It is more likely that identical might be extensions of the same oversoul. Again, it's not an absolute. And it might be more likely that twins that are only fraternal and not identical might still be extensions of the same oversoul, or more likely extensions of different oversouls for different reasons. But again, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Both are possible. but it's not an absolute. It depends on the purpose for the creation of the reflection of the twin or the triplet or what have you.
So I'm coming back to the idea of soul fragments. So there is no such thing as a soul fragment?
No. If you're referring to a soul fragment as simply one of the souls that make up an oversoul, then again, we understand the way you're using that terminology. But there is no such thing, aside from that expression, as a soul fragment. Souls are whole beings. There is no fragment of a soul.
Okay. And if this person's saying they know they're a soul with a body, but is it possible for an oversoul to have many different bodies?
Well, yes, that's exactly what an oversoul does. An oversoul has many different souls, and each soul can have an incarnational physical experience or a body. That's exactly the description of the idea of how the oversoul experiences itself, because many of the souls that make it up may choose to have incarnations in different places and different times, and all of that experience as physical beings feeds back through the soul to the oversoul that is having all those experiences at the same time.
And this person would love to know what determines the oversoul group that we end up being in. Also, once an oversoul group, is manifest, do we remain in that group permanently?
Yes. You don't end up being in an oversoul. You start out that way. That's who you are. You're part of that vibration. You're part of that larger aspect of all that is. And then as an individual soul, you are an extension of that oversoul. That's who you are. You don't end up being there.
And how common is it for people with the same oversoul to meet in the same lifetime?
It's quite common. There can be many counterparts that will cross paths with each other, maybe interact with each other in a variety of different ways. Again, it depends upon the purpose for such an interaction. So I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it's quite common.
And how do you explain the concept of souls parallel life experiences impacting our current life journey? And what implications does this have on the infinite potential of our souls?
Well, again, this is what we've talked about many times when you talk about the idea of incarnations, past, present, future, where you're making cross connections energetically, informationally, sharing that information between different experiences that all coexist simultaneously, whether they seem to be in your historical timeline or in a parallel reality, doesn't matter. You connect to what you need to connect to draw information and experience from what serves your particular life path. So you're always plugging into and unplugging from different experiences in parallel realities to inform your life path, as other beings are doing for you. Plugging into you to draw down your experience and information into them to help them with their life path, because it's just like one giant dynamic interactive internet. You're constantly sending and receiving information to different versions of extensions of different souls and parallel realities and what have you, in order to inform your path while you help others inform their path.
And does the higher mind or soul take feedback from the physical mind or the personality? For example, if someone is done and they've changed their mind about exploring something because it's actually more painful than they anticipated, can they terminate the agreement? And how can they do that?
No, you cannot terminate an agreement. You can postpone it, you can delay it, you cannot terminate it. An agreement is something that, in a sense, is part of your experience as a soul, that makes you unique, that makes you what you are. So when you have set up within yourself the parameters that allow you to experience parts of who you are, you cannot terminate that, because it would be like terminating a part of yourself, and you can't do that ultimately. You can postpone it. You can decide to leave physical reality, before your prescribed time, the time that you originally set up, your end point, your exit point, because that's what you call suicide, when you leave early. But then you realize when you go back into the soul form that you were not finished with the agreement you made to be you in that way, to learn that thing that actually allows you to grow as a soul, as the soul you are, the unique soul you are. So you cannot change that. So you will perhaps postpone it. You may linger for a while and experience different things as a soul, non-physically, but then you will realize that in order to progress, in order to move forward, in order to grow, in order to change, you will, in some way, shape, or form, need to fulfill the parameters of that agreement, or you will not move forward. And not moving forward and not growing will at some point be such a strong and powerful urge within you because of the nature of existence to expand that you will finally decide in some way, shape, or form to continue to fulfill that agreement until you fulfill it. So you cannot erase it, but you can postpone it.